Okay, so the verse of the day is from Genesis 2, um, verses 2 through 3. On the seventh day, God had finished his work of creation, so he rested from all his work. And God blessed the seventh day and declared it holy because it was the day when he rested from all of his creation. So we are going to go to Genesis 2, um, verse, let me see. We're going to start from verses 12. Okay, so the man and woman in Eden. And we are going to read down to verse 17. Okay. So the man and woman in Eden. When the Lord made the earth and the heavens, neither wild plants nor grain were growing on the earth, for the Lord God had yet sent rain to water the earth, and there were no people to cultivate the soil. Instead, springs came up from the ground and watered all the land. Then the Lord God formed the man from the dust of the ground. He breathed the breath of life into the man's nostrils, and the man became a living person. Then the Lord God planted a garden in Eden in the east, and there he placed the man he had made. The Lord God made all sorts of trees grow up from the ground, trees that were beautiful and that produced delicious fruit. In the middle of the garden, he placed the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So what I didn't know that there was I didn't know that there was two trees. The tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So you can judge me, but I didn't know. All I was heard was about the knowledge of good and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. But yeah, I just wanted to address that. A river flowed from the land of Eden, watering the garden and then dividing into four branches. The first branch, called the Pishon, flowed around the entire land of Havilah, where gold is found. The gold of that land is exceptionally pure. Aromatic resin and onyx stone are also found there. So when I think about gold, I think about good. I think about pure. Aromatic resin is more of, the scent that the land is giving off, and onyx, where onyx stone is also found. So when I thought about this, I'm just like, um, when we're first created, in the womb, and this may kind of sound kind of off topic, but I feel like it addresses, it gives kind of a visual to human understanding. So the gold of the land, you would say, as a child, this child in a mother's womb is as gold, exceptionally pure and good. And then, just think about the fluid, the fluid, I forget what it's called, but the fluid in the womb as the aromatic resin. and then the onyx stone are also found there. So without good, without darkness, there is no light. Without bad, there is no good. So I just thought about the onyx stone being, how onyx stone is dark and black. It's just as the stars in the sky. The stars without the stars in the mist, without the mist of the night, without the darkness of the sky, there would be no, you wouldn't, the stars wouldn't stand out as much. So that's kind of what I got from that. The darkness being the dark of the womb, that the aromatic resin being that fluid in the mother's womb, and then the gold being that child, there it's all in that one space. So that's kind of giving you a visual of, how um, land is, and how there is good, or there is light, and there's darkness. The second birch called the Gion, and then I went back and and that that river was a river that watered that garden. So just as the tree of knowledge of good and evil, it's a reflection of that land, good and bad, the dark and the light. This watered that land, that garden. The second branch, called the Gihon, flowed around the entire land of Cush. The third branch, called the Tigris, flowed east of the land of Ashur. The fourth branch is called the Euphrates, or Euphrates. The Lord God placed the man in the Garden of Eden to tend and watch over it. But the Lord God warned him, "You may freely eat the fruit of every tree in the garden except the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. If you eat its fruit, you are sure to die." So when God first created Adam and he placed this man inside the garden, he wasn't there, just, as, keepsake purposes. He wasn't there. He was put inside that, and he was put inside the garden to tend and watch over it. And I'm just thinking to myself, without Adam, would this garden actually flourish? If you think about, I got something in my nose. Oh, sorry. Okay, so if you think about nature itself, nature doesn't need any, tending from any human being. Nature doesn't need, you know, our touch to flourish, because it's naturally, it naturally provides for itself. So when you would think, like, why did God actually put Adam in this garden if he didn't actually need to be there? But if you think about your creation, you put your creation out there, you express your creation. God created Adam. Adam was God's creation. So therefore, he kind of had to, I feel like he had to basically, it was like a distraction. you know Adam had to feel like he was there for a certain purpose, so that he wouldn't focus too much on the situation. When you're immature to a situation, you basically kind of give them um some type of guide, setting got him there with Adam there with it, with instructions. So he was there to tend to the garden. That's what God implanted into Adam's mind, so that God can, still focus on creating and kind of distract Adam a little bit. You're there for a reason. Basically maturing. You're maturing. You're as so he wouldn't be immature or ignorant towards the situation. He had to condition Adam's mind to where, you're here for this, focus on this. Um, so that's another thing that I really didn't think about when I read the Bible either. I'm like, okay, so Adam and Eve was in the garden, and all beating around. I'm just beating around the bush about, people just beat around the bush. They focus on this person, and they focus on what this person done, and they just, disregard everything. But Adam was there to tend to the garden. That's what God set in his mind. But honestly, God didn't need Adam there to tend to the garden, because the garden would fin, or you know grow on its own. But God had to plant that seed in Adam's mind just to distract him. um so you may freely eat fruit of every tree in the garden except for the tree of knowledge of good and evil. If you eat its fruit, you shall surely die. And when I was younger, I always thought, um so except for the tree of life, you shall surely die. So when you eat this fruit, your spirit will die. You will just become, a a vessel, but your spirit shall die. That will be the cause of eating the knowledge of good and evil. So when you think too much about something, um because I feel like we were all placed on this earth to just be. That's how you grow. When a tree is growing or a plant is growing, the tree and the plant and just the living organism of earth is growing. There's not thinking. They're not thinking or nothing. In order to grow, you can't think too much about anything, because that's kind of how your roots begin to die down. That's how I feel when we as human beings, where I don't feel like we are actually meant to think. But that's the punishment, or that's the call. That's when we eat from the fruit of good and evil and become knowledgeable. Now you notice that we're not growing as much, because we are thinking too much, because we're not meant to think. We are meant to just be. So that's how, um you know the tree of knowledge of good and evil killed off the possibility of just remaining a living, the tree of the living, a living tree. You're supposed to just live and be. You're not really supposed to think. So yeah, that was verses 17, 6 through 17, the man and woman of Eden, Adam and Eve, and my thoughts about that topic. So yeah, with that being said, y'all have a wonderful Sunday, and good vibes to those going to church, worshiping, and you know Salah to everyone on this day. Peace be with you.